The Alexandrians also constructed their own barricades to keep Caesar penned in, some as high as 12 meters.
Yeah,
Achilles
bro.
frequently sent some of his militia force
12 meters? What the hell? That is ridiculously tall.
to assault.
Caesar Civil War. People kept asking me to continue this.
It had now been
I'm doing
approximately
it.
a year and a
I'm
half
doing it.
since Caesar.
And I will probably do 30 years war after this. And then after that, I'm going to be dropping some suggested videos. So just let you know early.
Made the fateful decision to cross the Rubicon. In that time, he had forced the Optimate faction out of Italy and conquered the peninsula, defeated the Republic's best army in Spain, and had now defeated the Republic's greatest general, Pompey, at Pharsalus. But civil wars, by their nature, demand a total victory, and Caesar still had a way to go to accomplish this goal.
I thought since Pompey was dead that the Civil War would end and everyone would crumble apart, but I guess I was wrong.
Unfortunately for him, in this episode he will not take steps to finish the war, but will be dragged into a civil war of another state. Badass champions, tough bosses, millions of players, the sponsor of
Garbage mobile videos. Speaking of sponsor, you guys should join my channel membership.
will be waiting for you here. Throughout Caesar's campaigns in Greece, he had continued to levy legions elsewhere, adding the 31st, 32nd and 33rd to his ranks. Following the Battle of Pharsalus, he also inducted some of Pompey's surrendered men into his army, making the 34th, 35th, 36th and 37th legions. Caesar, by this stage of the war, now had the numerical advantage, but the Optimate faction still harbored some of the most influential politicians of the day. The war was far from over. Caesar's first priority after the Battle of Pharsalus was Pompey himself. He immediately left in pursuit, leaving Antony to oversee the political situation in Rome. It was the time of year where the elections for next year's consul would usually be decided, and Caesar's term as consul of the year 48 BC would be coming to an end. Caesar would entrust Antony with ensuring that his political power continued. Having picked up on Pompey's trail through informants in Asia Minor, Caesar pursued Pompey to Egypt with a fleet of 10 Rhodian ships, as well as a few more from Asia Minor. On board were 2 legions, the 6th and 27th, totaling just around 3,200 infantry, as many soldiers as had been lost to war and illness over the years, and 800 cavalry. Caesar only learned of his ex-triumvir's death upon his arrival in Alexandria at the start of October 48 BC, just a few days after Pompey's death. According to Plutarch and Cassius Dio, when Caesar was first presented with Pompey's head, he turned away disgusted. He was next presented the seal ring of Pompey, at which point Caesar broke down in tears. Both historians interpret this grief differently. Plutarch claims that it was genuine. After all, though enemies in later life, Caesar and Pompey had been political allies for around 8 years, had effectively ruled Rome together, and had even been related by marriage. Dio, on the other hand, claims that this grief was only for show, and that Caesar had always hated Pompey from the start. It is
That's intriguing. I don't know. We don't have a video of it, obviously, but only the people there who saw Caesar's reaction probably would be able to decipher whether or not it was real or not. I mean, because human emotion, like when you have a genuine reaction to something, it's quite obvious that it's a genuine reaction. So I don't know. I think it was a genuine reaction, to be honest, because If Caesar really hated Pompey, I mean, why would he fake it? Why would he fake something like that? What would he get from that? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would he need to fake that far? That was probably a genuine reaction. You could still, guys, you know, you could have enemies, but you can still respect your enemies. Plenty of cases where people respected their enemies and they didn't really need to like gain anything from it. A good example of that actually would be Alexander the Great when he buried the king of the Achaemenid. Oh my, how do you pronounce that freaking name? Achaemenid Empire. Let me just say that the king of the Darius, when he buried Darius after he was killed, right? So you know, and plus the way how Pompey was yeeted was absolutely just like, bro, like absolutely disrespectful. Like if he had like died another way, like let's say he died in a battle or something, that's more like okay, you know, okay. But the way how he died, that was just brutal. Like that was just so, I can't even find the word. Shit, I swear I'm like forgetting to speak English, bro. But that was just so ugh.
It is impossible to say which is true. However, it is likely that Caesar was incredibly frustrated at Pompey's death. Caesar had a genius for public relations. Capturing Pompey, forcing him to renounce the Senate, and then pardoning him, as was Caesar's habit, would have been the ultimate coup de grace. Instead, Pompey's assassination made him a martyr for the ultimate cause, something Caesar would have surely wished to avoid.
So that was another thing that I was wondering, what the hell was Caesar even freaking yeet this guy? It doesn't make any sense. Like he's a high profile person. Like why would you yeet him for? That answers my question at least.
Antony was able to capitalize on news of Pompey's death. Many in Rome had refused to believe that Pompey had been defeated, but upon being presented with Pompey's ring, which Caesar had sent to Rome, they finally accepted that the old general was lost and was dead. Rome now acclaimed Caesar as the victor, bestowing countless honors on him. Seizing upon the situation, Antony labeled the Pompeians in Africa as conspirators, declared a national emergency, and that a dictator was needed. The man chosen to be dictator was, of course, Caesar. Rather than the regular 6 months, his term as dictator was also set at 1 year, running through October 47 BC. In return for his continued loyalty and effectiveness, Antony was named by Caesar as Master of Horse, effectively his second in command, and was entrusted with the governance of Italy and Rome in Caesar's absence. Many Optimate politicians, such as Gaius Cassius, now returned to Rome and appealed for forgiveness from Caesar. All were spared and welcomed into the new regime. Cicero also returned to Rome and was forgiven. He returned to the Senate, where he hoped to use his influence to do what he could to preserve the Republic. With Caesar in Egypt now being a dictator, he decided to turn his attention to Roman interests in the area, namely the rulership of the kingdom and its debt to Rome. As we have seen, Egypt was ruled by the boy pharaoh Ptolemy XIII. The pharaoh's father, Ptolemy XII, had made an alliance with Rome during Caesar's tenure as consul in 60 BC. Before his death, Ptolemy XII named his eldest son, Ptolemy XIII, and his eldest daughter, Cleopatra VII, as co-rulers, with Rome as the guarantor of the will. Tensions between the two sibling rulers quickly escalated, however, both raising armies against each other. Furthermore, both had inherited the debts of their father. Ptolemy XII had borrowed huge sums of money from Rome throughout his life, and by his death, there was still an unpaid debt of 17.5 million drachmae to the Republic, which
How the
constituted
hell am I supposed to know how much money that is?
approximately half of Egypt's yearly revenue.
Oh,
Caesar
well,
was
that gives me a better idea. But I still don't know how much money that is in today's money.
badly in need of money to pay his growing armies, and also saw an opportunity to solidify Roman influence in the area. As consul when the alliance with Egypt was first made, and the current dictator, Caesar thought it his obligation to see that pro-Roman rule in Egypt was maintained and that the debt was paid. Caesar first attempted to take a diplomatic approach, suggesting that Ptolemy and Cleopatra both disband their armies and that he act as an arbitrator to see their father's will fulfilled. He also requested the debt be paid, but was willing to reduce it to 10 million drachmae. Ptolemy, though pharaoh by title, was still young, and as such, was being advised by a council who effectively ruled Egypt through their regency. Pothinus, a eunuch, was one of the most influential of these advisors. It had been on his advice that Pompey had been assassinated as a ploy to curry favor with Caesar. Now he opposed Caesar's suggestions. He saw Caesar's arrival as a threat to royal authority, and initially refused to pay the debt. He even went so far as to bring Ptolemy's royal army into Alexandria under the command of Achilles, one of Pompey's killers. This was clear defiance of Caesar's demands that Ptolemy's armies be disbanded, and in response, Caesar sent messengers to Cleopatra, perhaps thinking she would be able to better fulfill his demands without requiring a regent. Cleopatra decided to meet Caesar in secret within Alexandria. Plutarch gives an extraordinary account of this meeting, in which Cleopatra, with the help of her right-hand man Apollodorus, smuggles herself into the city in a bed sack, laundry bag, or carpet.
What the hell?
Cassius Dio gives the much more reasonable account that the two simply met in secret with no reference to her being smuggled in.
I was
Both sources,
about to
however,
say.
agree that Cleopatra was quickly able to seduce Caesar. Cleopatra is described as being beautiful, charming, and above all, clever. She was a brilliant orator and could speak as many as 8 languages, and was the first Ptolemaic ruler to learn Egyptian. Caesar immediately tried to reconcile the two monarchs, proclaiming them co-monarchs, and offering the island of Cyprus, recently annexed from the Egyptians by Rome, to the other two siblings, Arsinoe and Ptolemy XIV, thus removing other potential claimants to the Egyptian throne. Pothinus, however, was not happy with this agreement. He was worried that, due to Cleopatra's now very close relationship with Caesar, she would be the more powerful of the two siblings, and that Pothinus would, as a result, lose his influence. He began stirring up unrest in the city, even having gold from the temples and royal treasury melted down in a deliberate attempt to show Caesar as being extortionate. With the situation worsening, Caesar sent emissaries to Achilles and the Egyptian army, attempting to explain that he only wanted to be an arbitrator of the will, as was his legal right. These emissaries were killed on Achilles' orders. The message was clear: a fight was imminent. Caesar was aware that he did not have enough men to fight in the open, only having the 4,000 he had brought from Greece. Instead, he ordered his men to seize the royal quarters where he had been housed. Within these quarters were Cleopatra, Pothinus, Arsinoe, and the boy pharaoh Ptolemy himself. Having taken control of the pharaoh, Caesar awaited Achilles' next move. Achilles' army numbered around 20,000, plus a further 2,000 cavalry.
Golly, bro. Golly. This is... Whoa. This is interesting. This civil war just took a very interesting turn.
Experienced veterans. Their numbers were swelled still further by the rioting Alexandrian citizens and even slaves, who aligned with the army and took up arms, making a kind of militia. Things were descending into chaos, and Caesar was forced to begin further fortifying his position and to send messengers to allies and his forces in Asia Minor requesting reinforcements. What had started as a simple political mission had now devolved into a siege. Achilles' army occupied the majority of the city to the west, including the Eunostos harbour, while Caesar only held the royal quarters and the royal harbour. Achilles regularly attacked Caesar's position, probing for weaknesses, but the narrow streets helped mitigate the difference in numbers, Caesar's men consistently repulsing these attacks. Achilles next turned his attention to the great harbour where both the Egyptian fleet and Caesar's fleet lay at anchor. If Achilles could seize this harbour and the ships, he would be able to cut off any chance of Caesar being resupplied or receiving reinforcements. Sending a diversionary force to attack Caesar's defences, Achilles simultaneously sent a larger force to seize the harbour. Caesar was well aware of the strategic value of the harbour, and so, leaving as small a force as was necessary to hold the defences, he led his men to the harbour. The fighting around the harbour was particularly brutal, and Caesar quickly realised he did not have enough men to win this fight and defend the harbour. Instead, Caesar effectively fought a delaying action, holding off the Egyptian force long enough for his men to set fire to the Egyptian fleet and pull their own fleet back to the royal harbour. The fire was ferocious and spread quickly, partially burning the Great Library of Alexandria. The damage was relatively minor, fortunately, and the library would continue for a number of centuries afterwards.
Yeah, but the library still got destroyed. The library still got destroyed. I don't know how true this is, but I heard that the Library of Alexandria being destroyed, like, set human advancements in technology back by, like, a good couple thousand years. I heard, like, at most 10,000 years. I don't know how true that is, but if that is true, that's wild.
Seizing the opportunity of having naval supremacy, Caesar sailed a portion of his men to the island of Pharos, which controlled access to all Alexandria's harbours, establishing a small garrison there, likely around the promenade on which the lighthouse itself was situated. Caesar and the rest of his forces then retreated back to the royal quarters. While Caesar persisted in improving his defences, Pothinus continued his resistance from the inside. Secretly, he sent messages to Achilles encouraging him to continue his attacks and plotted to assassinate Caesar. Caesar's men, however, were able to catch some of Pothinus's messengers, who were forced to reveal the plot. Caesar immediately had Pothinus killed.
Damn.
Arsinoe, Ptolemy's sister,
Damn, bro. The amount of people just dying in this is absolutely wild, man.
had greater success, escaping Caesar's defences and joining Achilles. Following this, an uneasy status quo developed. Caesar continued to fortify his position against any assaults, even making makeshift battering rams to break down the walls of houses to keep a continuous line of defense. The Alexandrians also constructed their own barricades to keep Caesar penned in, some as high as 12 meters.
Yeah,
Achilles
bro.
frequently sent some of his militia forces
12 meters? What the hell? That is ridiculously tall.
to assault various points of Caesar's defences to look for weakness, keeping his veterans in reserve, but with little success. Perhaps frustrated by this lack of success, a rift began to form between Arsinoe and Achilles, and eventually Arsinoe had Achilles killed and replaced by her own man, Ganymedes.
Bruh.
Ganymedes was a cunning general and immediately took steps to try and break the stalemate. Alexandria was supplied by subterranean watercourses that ran throughout the city. Ganymedes, therefore, ordered that those sections that flowed into the parts of the city controlled by Caesar be blocked, and then had these sections polluted with seawater, rendering them undrinkable.
Oh, he's smart.
Such a tactic would have been difficult to pull off, but the Alexandrians were renowned engineers and were quickly able to complete the project, thus making Caesar's position even more precarious. Some of Caesar's men started to panic, some saying that they should have retreated much earlier. Fortunately for them, Caesar took control of the situation. He made it clear that if they were to attempt to retreat, the Alexandrians would catch them before they could successfully evacuate everyone. He instead ordered wells to be dug day and night, and fresh water was soon found, avoiding disaster. Though the situation had been
clutch, man, clutch.
It was clear that Ganymedes was a dangerous enemy, not to be taken lightly.
Yeah, this man, I thought this man was just gonna be like the others. No. After what I saw there, I changed my mind.
In the next episode of our series, Caesar will continue trying to survive in Alexandria and turn the situation once again. So make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button.
Bro, okay, this Civil War just got so much more interesting. Like before it was kind of like towards the end it got more interesting when Pompey was alive. But I thought not that Pompey was dead, that the Civil War would kind of just be like a cleaning operation, just sweeping operation. But I guess I was wrong. I guess I was wrong. I'm actually glad I'm wrong, because this is quite entertaining. This is beneficial for me. Anyways, though, if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're new to my channel and you have any suggestions for me, comment down below. Thank you to my channel members, my few channel members who decided to join my membership. I recommend you to join it. Just 99 cents a month. Like I said before, I'm gonna expand on it very soon, eventually, like very soon. Plus, if you give me videos to react to, it's beneficial for you to join channel membership, because I will react to your suggestions much more faster and give your comments more priority and reply, which is a big deal because I get loads of comments and I have 2 jobs. So plus I'm gonna be starting college soon, plus I do other stuff aside from those 3 things, right? So definitely, you know, if you're one of my like active viewers and whatnot, and you just have like spare change or whatever, I highly recommend you do that. Plus it helps me and whatnot. Anyways, man, thank you for watching and goodbye.